Hello, my name is Terry White, Worldwide Design Evangelist for Adobe, and it's my pleasure to walk you through just how easy it is to create iPad applications using Adobe InDesign and, of course, the Adobe Creative Cloud. So if you have a Creative Cloud membership, you have the ability to create an unlimited number of iPad applications using your skill set as a print designer or graphic designer and using, of course, Adobe InDesign. So now let's head over to the iPad where I've preloaded an application that I built with InDesign. We'll see how this application works, and then we'll see the steps necessary to go from start to finish to building your own app. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the application here. And the first thing it starts off with is this very cool animation that actually came from a video inside Photoshop and then exporting frames. Then we're going to go ahead and swipe over to the next article. And in this next article, it's multi-page, so we can go ahead and swipe up and down. And in this particular case, the next page actually has a video on it, so we can tap the video.
So my clothes and my design.
And of course, we can tap to pause if we don't need to watch the whole thing now. And on the next page, we actually have a photo here. This is a static photo. We're going to turn that into a pan and zoom example. And then if we go up, we have a banner here. That's kind of a sales banner. We're going to do something cool with that. And then the last page in this is actually 4 photos, but we're going to turn those 4 photos actually into a slideshow. And of course, this particular application was designed to work both horizontally and vertically. So I can go through and look at the vertical or horizontal pages at any time. Then last but not least, we swipe over, and this particular page loads an HTML example of a contact form so that we can get feedback directly from the users of our app. So now that you've kind of seen the app that we're going to build, let's go ahead and show you how a lot of the pieces were built and then the final process of actually creating the app itself. So I'm going to head over to the computer where I've got InDesign loaded. I've got the first article. Now keep in mind that as I swiped from left to right, we were going technically from one InDesign document to the next InDesign document to the next InDesign document in the same app. So one app, multiple documents, and now we're going to go ahead and show you how some of those are built. So this first page that I have open in the first document is where that cover animation was built. Now, before I get into that, let me just show you how easy it is to create these new documents from scratch. You just go to File, New Document, and now in InDesign CS6, we have the ability to go from a print intent, a web intent, and now a new digital publishing intent. And it automatically defaults to iPad, or you can choose a custom device size or a preset device size or make a custom size. So I'm going to leave it on iPad and of course click Tall, and that would give me the blank document. But again, we already have that document here. The next thing we're going to do now is show you how that animation on the cover was built. Now I'm going to go ahead and just drag out a frame. This is pretty much InDesign 101. And when I drag out this frame, rather than place content in it the traditional way using the place command or drag and drop, we're going to actually assign the content to that frame using a folio overlay. So you have a folio overlay panel here, and we're going to say that that particular frame is going to have an image sequence in it. Now, if you remember that animation, remember it looked like a video, the girl was kind of walking left to right or right to left, and that particular animation started from a video. The video was opened inside Photoshop, edited, adding the logos and everything on it, and then exported from Photoshop, not as a video, but individual frames. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we can load those in. So I'm going to go ahead and click Load Images. I'm going to go out to the folder that contains those images. And in that image sequence, I'm loading the vertical one. And if I go ahead and open this up, here they all are. These are all the individual JPEG files that Photoshop exported out from that video. So we just say Open, and there's the first frame. Now, this is where we tell it how to be interactive. We definitely want to show the first one. We want it to auto-play. And we don't want the user to have to do anything. No tapping, no pause, no clicking, no tapping or do anything to swipe. So we just go ahead and turn off everything else, and that's it. InDesign has now built and loaded this frame with the exact animation we need, and it will play it automatically when this application is launched. Now, of course, at different times, you're going to want to preview your content. You're going to want to test it without necessarily having to go to your iPad to do it. So we have a preview feature built right in. So if I say preview, I can do it one of two ways. I can preview it on the desktop with the content viewer that comes with the Digital Publishing Suite tools, or if I plug in my iPad and then launch the Adobe Content Viewer free app on the iPad, I can preview it directly to the iPad via the cable. But I'm just going to go ahead and preview it on the desktop here. It will build this particular spread for me. And then it will launch the content viewer so that I can actually see exactly what the user would see on their iPad. And there it is. So it's just playing back all those JPEGs like a video. And then, of course, pausing or stopping on the last one. And that's how, actually, we didn't tell it to pause or stop on the last one, so that would be something we would want to do. So we would want to say, stop at last image. So that's just how easy it is to do that. Now let's head over to the feature that lets InDesign or helps you set up your InDesign document so that you can turn the device portrait or landscape. That is called alternate layouts. So for example, I've got multiple pages here from a previous version of this document I did. And what I'd love to do is have the wide version of that without having to go through all the steps of building everything else in a new document. So now in the Pages panel, I have the ability to go and say, create alternate layout. It will automatically propose the opposite of what you built. So since I built a portrait version, it's automatically proposing the landscape version. It's going to link all the stories. It's going to do everything I need to do, including copying all the styles into a new group. So I just click OK, and it will build that alternate layout for me. So I have the tall version, and I have the wide version. I have the tall version, and keep in mind, it's not always going to be perfect. It will depend on what rules you set up for your alternate layout. So in this case, there were no rules set up. It just basically put the tall version of that page on a wide page. So at this point, I would either redo this particular page or reformat it, or go back and make sure I assign my rules to this page before I create the alternate. And even if there was something that needed a little bit of a tweak, this is where you take that opportunity to go in page by page in each version to make sure it looks the way you want it to look. Okay, so now that we've seen how to create an alternate, I'm going to go ahead and close this. And now we're going to jump over to one that's a little bit further along. I've got the alternates here, and we're going to see how to create some of this interactivity. So the first one was that video on the second page. So I've got a frame. I'm just going to go to File and Place. And we'll go back a couple steps here. And what I'd love to do is place the actual video itself. So I've got a video. And once I click on the video, the one thing I want to show or point out is that you want to make sure your video is iPad compatible or mobile friendly. So just because InDesign can place a video doesn't necessarily mean you formatted the video to run on the device you're going to send it to. So in this case, it is an MP4 file, .h.264, and I can go ahead and open that and place that file directly in the frame. Now, the only thing that isn't there or we're not seeing yet is the poster frame for that. In other words, the initial frame that people will see. So we'll go to our media panel where it actually shows me the video. But now what I want to do is grab the poster from either the current image. If I do that, it will do it. But more importantly, I can choose an image. So if I go choose an image, I can just basically choose the one that I want. And I can go ahead and fit that properly so that we can see it better. And now we have the initial frame that people will see when they go to watch the video, as well as the video itself that will play. Now at this point, even though we placed the video, we can still go to our Folio Overlays panel and control how that video will work. So we can say that it auto plays, which we probably don't want to do. But we also can give the user the ability to tap to view a controller or to have it automatically go full screen when they tap to watch the video. So lots of choices there for you to control how it works. All right, let's go ahead and scroll down. Now I talked about this particular example. And in this example, we've basically placed an image inside the frame. But if we double click on it, we can actually see that that particular image is only 44, roughly 45% of its size. So that means it's been scaled down inside that frame. Well, that makes this a perfect example of something that we can use to have the user be able to tap and pinch and zoom that image inside the frame. So we'll go to our folio overlays, we'll go to pan and zoom, and we'll just simply turn on pan and zoom. So now when the user goes to work with that particular frame, here we can go ahead and preview it. They will be able to tap right into that, and even using my trackpad on my MacBook Pro, I can pinch and zoom and pan around to see that image larger. So that's an example of a pan and zoom. So now let's go ahead and do one more here. I've kind of pre-built this where I've got the shopping banner that we saw earlier in the app. And I'm just going to go ahead, I've grouped it together with this anniversary sale text, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. Now once I cut it, I'm going to just build another frame, kind of the area that I want it to go into, and then we'll paste it into. So we'll do edit, paste into, and then we'll kind of position it, maybe build the frame out a little bit more, and then position this where we want it to be. So we want people to be able to tap and pull that tab up. And that is called a scrollable frame. So once we do the paste into, we get the scrollable frame option. We can say that we want it to go vertical. We want the document to, or use the document position of where I've pushed it down to. And we don't need to see the scroll bar, so we can hide that. So now, again, once again, if we preview this, it will build a spread for us. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see it. And now we can go ahead and just pull that up and pull it down whenever we want to see that content. So very easy creating this kind of interactivity without having to write any code manually yourself. InDesign is doing it for you all behind the scenes. All right, so now we're pretty much ready to go. I promised you one more thing here, which is this slideshow. We're going to go ahead and just basically delete all of these images. Because what I'd rather do is create a big frame. And then we're going to set the options for that frame using our fitting command, frame fitting options. We will say that we want to fill that frame proportionally from the center point. So now that frame is set for our image, but we want 4 more of these. So I'm going to go ahead and first of all turn off my preview, for example, or for a second. And we'll just hold down our Option or Alt key and duplicate this 3 more times. So now we have our 4 frames in place. We'll head over to Adobe Bridge. We'll grab our 4 images. We'll choose Place in InDesign. It'll pop us back over to InDesign, and we can go ahead and place each one of those images in our 4 frames. And they will automatically size down. Okay, so now we've got our images in place. We'll go ahead and select all 4 frames, and we'll align them right on top of each other. So align left, align tops. Now they're all 4 stacked on top of each other. A couple more steps. We'll go to Object States, create a new object state. We can call this Slideshow. Slideshow 1, for example. And now we'll go to our folio overlays. With that object state selected, it automatically knows that it's a slideshow. We can tell it to auto play. We can tell it to loop. We can have a crossfade, and it will basically just do everything automatically for us. So it'll just start playing that slideshow when you get to that page of the app. Okay, so last but not least, how do we actually build an app? Now keep in mind, I do have one more page here. This is the page or the document that contains that form, which basically that was just a matter of using our folio overlay panel and using web content to point to the HTML file that was created inside of Adobe Muse and have it auto-load and auto-play into this frame. So now that we've got the 3 documents that make up our app, how do we actually build the app itself? Well, if we go out and go back to our first document, which I already have the alternate for that one, we'll go ahead and say that we want to go to our folio builder. Now the Folio Builder has any folios that you've built to date. I have signed out of my Creative Cloud account, or I've signed out of my full Adobe DPS account so that now I can use Creative Cloud. And what I'm going to do is just simply say, create a new folio. So we'll walk you through the steps. So this new folio is going to be called Alice Ritter 2, because I've already got one. And we'll go ahead and it's automatically going to default to iPad and everything else you need. So we'll just click OK. And next we just add in our documents that we just built. So we're just going to go ahead and add an article, and we'll add the existing one that's open here. And we're going to call this one Cover. And we'll go ahead and save it. Then we just go to the next document. And this is the one, again, with the video in it and the inside pages here. So we're going to add this open document. And we're going to call this one, we can call it Inside. And this one we'll do a Save As on. And then we go to our last document, and we add that one as well. So now that we've built our folio, which is the multiple InDesign documents, we can step back out. We have our Alice Ritter 2, and because I'm a Creative Cloud member, I now have the ability to say Create App right from the Folio Builder panel. So when I say Create App, it will launch the Adobe DPS App Builder. You will sign in with your Adobe ID, same as your Creative Cloud account. It will verify that you're a Creative Cloud member and then allow you to walk through the process of creating your app. So we're going to go ahead and hit Continue. And we give our app a name. So we'll call this one Alice Ritter. Next. Now this is some of the setup that you'll do when you get ready to build your app. I'm not going to walk you through it because it's pretty much standard Photoshop stuff where you build your icons and your splash screens. The beauty of it is it tells you step by step or icon by icon what sizes you need. Whenever in doubt, just hover over the eye and it will tell you what it's looking for there. And I've gone ahead and built all of these so they're ready to go. I'm just going to head out to the Finder. And in my Finder, I've got a folder with all of these splash screens and icons in them. So now I'll just go ahead and select all of these, drag them in. Let's go ahead and highlight that first. There we go. And it automatically knows where to put each size. So based on the size of the item, it knows which one to put it in. Now, of course, some iPads are Retina display, so we'll go to the HD versions of these and do the exact same thing. And again, it grabbed the HD versions that I had built as well. Now we can go next. And now this is the part where if you want to actually build your application and load it on your iPad or put it on the App Store, you actually have to be an Apple developer. So in the very first screen of this app builder process, there was a link to actually go find out how to become an Apple developer and what you need to build the certificates that we're about to load here. So I'm going to go ahead and give it what it's asking for. It's asking for my provisioning certificates for both developing and distribution. Just go ahead and drag those in. It knows where they go. And last but not least, we're ready to create the app. So we'll go ahead and click Create App. And now what it's doing is it's sending your files up to the Creative Cloud App Builder, where it will then, in the background, start building your app, which is what it's doing here. Once your app is built, you'll have two versions of it. You'll be able to download the development version, which is the one you can actually put right on your iPad, and test. And then you'll have the distribution version. that's the one you download and send to Apple or upload to Apple when you're ready to put it on the App Store. So both versions have been built. I would now click to download the developer one, drag and drop it into iTunes, plug in my iPad and sync it, and we would run it right on the iPad, which is what we did initially when this video started. So that's how you build an app using InDesign from start to finish as a Creative Cloud member. And again, without writing any code, I'm able to do this. So thanks again for watching this presentation. My name is Terry White, and we'll catch you next time.